Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, May 11th, and we are slowly making more progress, I would say, with the daily quest than we are even making progress going through all of the games. I don't know why, but it seems like there's just been a total and complete flood of games that came out on Steam in the past couple days. I need to win a victory with a paladin, a warrior. I'm trying to play ranked, and that's probably part of the problem. But maybe this Murloc paladin will fix that, and then we can move over to the Americas account. Let's see. Next game on my incredibly long list of games that came out for Steam is a game called Heat Guardian. Looks like a top-down shooter. It kind of looks like a game. It could be an asset flip with somebody actually putting some effort into it, which at that point I guess it's technically not an asset flip anymore, because it has UIs that match and it looks like a game. The weird thing, though, I'd say, is I'm not seeing any enemies in the screenshots. I'm seeing fire and health bars, which I don't like the idea of having fire and life. I'm seeing weapons, but in the trailers I'm not seeing any kind of enemies. And it's, I believe, $9.99. And the first review is not recommended. Let's see. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this page. Let's see. It looks like a cool top-down survival shooter in a great atmosphere, but I recommend steering clear at this time. There are no graphical settings to change. No 21.9 support. That's not something that particularly bothers me too much. No vertical sync. Screen tearing options. See, is that the only negative review? No. It's the only negative review in my language, I bet. Yep. Alright, well, since I'm zoomed in a little bit more. Yes, this is a Russian game. That's the problem. To extremely generalize there and be rather unfair to just say all Russian games are bad, which they aren't, but a significant portion of them are lazy attempts. And since it's from a developer with no previous releases, it is $9.99. Wow. And no discount. We can close Heat Guardian and never think about it again. Let's see. Oh, and is my zoom actually going to stay the same on all these pages going forward? That would be nice. Next game we have is a game called Infector 3 Apocalypse. It's mixed reviews, 61% of 62 user reviews. See, as soon as I zoom in, I can see the more details, but I was intentionally trying to skip a lot of that information. Right. So it's pixel graphics versus zombies versus a lot of RPG elements versus a lot of crazy RPG elements. Single player only. 10% off for $11.69. And apparently it's a pretty well known game because a lot of people played it. All-time peak of 411 people at the same time playing it. I think the idea here is you create the zombie infection. You give it to a small group of people in an area, and then they have to run around and infect and kill all the other people, which is actually a pretty uh, it's kind of an interesting concept. I just am not sure that there's enough variety here. Let's see. Several people saying they got refunds. It's probably closer to $5 instead of the $12 they're asking for it, is one of the not recommended reviews. So apparently the previous Infector games might be worth a play, but playing the new one at its current price is too much. So, well, even when I look at the other games they've made, Infector Survivors is only mixed reviews at 67%, and the collector's edition is also only at 66%. So it seems like this whole series has never been above a mixed review. And if I may be bold enough to demand better than average games, I would say, yeah, I think I could skip the Infector series and gladly move on with my life. I do want to see, maybe there was a game like Infector. Let's see, but Steam's recommended games, they're recommending Monster Prom and Plague Inc. Evolved, which I suppose Plague Inc. Evolved is Rebuild 3, which I have and we'll cover at some point. What is the question I really want to know is, where is Infector 2? Was it developed by a different person? Because I see Infector 1 and Infector 3 and no 2, and that's confusing. So I'll probably do a search just to see if I can find Infector 2. Maybe that was the one standout good game made by a different team and a different publisher. It would seem unrealistic that they would just skip over to 3, but maybe. There we go. Next game we have on Steam is called Deadshot Heroes. It's from developers made nothing else. It's $9.99. It's a VR defend your base game, tower defense type game. It looks very poorly animated, and it's the exact same concept we see over and over again. All-time peak of 1, early access $10, and of course no reviews. And we've got that done, so we are now officially done with the European account. Let's just quickly come over here and make sure nobody sent me a friend request. Let's now switch over to the Americas account. And if we get everything done with the Americas account before I stop talking about games, then we can go back to the Asian account and try to get some victories. Gamatsu has a article, roguelike deck building RPG Monster Slayers. RPG called Monster Slayers is launching May 15th on the PS4 and May 18th on the Xbox One. Let's see, I guess since this is a 50, we'll try and trade that. Nope, Druid or Hunter. And we'll come over here. See, this kind of sucks to get this daily quest, and there's really no reason to play it because I've already done it. Like, we'll just take Test Greymane and play again. This game, Monster Slayers, doesn't specifically look too great. And in a weird way, it doesn't even look very Japanese for a Gematsu article. So, I guess that's sometimes a good thing if a Japanese company can make something that doesn't just scream that it's Japanese on the very first look. I imagine there probably are some third-party support video game developers in Japan that make their games look like Western games all the time, and it just never comes out. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Monster Slayers looks like a boring cell phone port of a game. Oops. That was not my intention. Next game we have is one called, we have a Gematsu article, Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers overview trailer. So the game, I think, is called Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers. It's due out for the 3DS on May 24th, so the graphics look pretty pixely zoomed in, but on the 3DS it probably will be acceptable. And it is kind of a high-speed battle race game. Seems like it's kind of a combination of a lot of things. It's end of turn. You play as an animal avatar. It's kind of just an RPG with running around a empty open world. Never heard of this character, Dylan. He looks like he's a armadillo in a cowboy hat. Yeah, Dylan is an armadillo. He has a squirrel engineer vest. It does certainly feel like a old Nintendo plot line, if you were to ever hear one, of you're going to be playing as a squirrel or an armadillo. Something that doesn't really play too well in 2018. Current year argument. Already talked about that. Did I seriously lose? I seriously lost. Attempt number 2. A game called Lake Ridden has come out on Steam. This is a game that was retweeted by another game developer, not one I saw just directly on what's on Steam. It's rated positive, 100% with 16 user reviews, came out May 10th. It is an indie action puzzle with a female protagonist. It looks interesting, maybe a little bit Myst-like even. So it's asking a lot for 10% off for $17.99. But I'm gonna wishlist this game because let's face it, it's kind of a recommended by other game developers, so it probably will be loved at least by the mainstream video game critics. It's specifically saying Lake Ridden is not a horror game and it's not a walking simulator. Playtime is 7 to 9 hours, and yes, there's a hint system for the puzzles you can choose to view. And apparently 4 or 5 people worked on this game in 2.5 years. And I imagine if you go too much further in details, you're going to be spoiling things. It does kind of look a little bit mist-like. Now, it's a first-person perspective, so I don't really know the point of a of saying it's a female protagonist. But maybe in the cutscenes things will be a little bit different. You can't also beat the fact that there's, well, it's kind of a small number of user reviews at 16, but it's also 100% positive. So keep an eye out at the very least to Lake Ridden. That's what I'm gonna do. Let's see. That's certainly one I probably would have just missed because it didn't come up on What's on Steam, which makes me wonder if the What's on Steam Twitter feed actually isn't even covering all the games. What if there's twice as many games as what I'm covering? At that point, it kind of doesn't matter. I don't want to get as bad as the co-optional podcast, though. I don't want to just every week say, well, none of the games that we could have covered were worth covering, therefore all games always suck, and we're just going to pick a very low number of games to cover, like 1 or 2 per day at most. Next game we have is called Wild West Online. It is mostly negative, with 33% of 130 user reviews rating it positive. It came out May 10th. It's an action, violent, massively multiplayer RPG indie, and I imagine why it's rated so negatively is that there's probably just not enough people on there, or the servers aren't working. If I was to ever guess why an MMO would be getting rated poorly, my first guess is the server problems. It's only multiplayer, so I wouldn't wishlist this anyways. It's $29.99. Let's see what the reviews say. Let's see. It can be the worst game in this decade. Wow, that's not very informative, but okay. Stealth destroyed. I'm gonna take these cards and then move forward. I just need to win 2 more times. Let's get a more informative review. It's not a finished game, but not listed as early access. It's a mess of bugs and lack of content. Could be good someday, but not today. Do not buy. Is the next first sentence. I regret not purchasing this game on Steam. At least then I'd have the option to return this game. Plays like an alpha game, lack of content, and very unpolished, and on top of that there's lots of microtransactions. And the first 4 or 5 reviews are all negative, and as you seems like Steam is showing me quite a few reviews. Does Steam show you more reviews when there are more reviews to be seen? Because there's 369 reviews on this game, which is a massive amount. I imagine a lot of it is because it's been in early access for a very long time. Let's see. Gametsu has an article. A game called Death's Gambit launches August 14th. It's on PlayStation 4 and PC via Steam. PC users can pre-order the game on Steam. It's character customization, heroic mode, new game plus. it looks like it might be a side-scroll brawler, but I'm not 100% sure. And the trailer is not showing me actually any gameplay. Yeah, it's a side-scroll brawler or hack and slash game. I hate to use the phrase "it looks like Dark Souls," but it kind of looks like Dark Souls. Very, very fast-paced, this game. So, yeah, Death's Gambit seems like it's one to keep an eye on, and so we'll wishlist that. We certainly are having the split now between games that are pre-order and early access, such as this game that comes out August 14th, whereas most of the games that I'm covering now are as they come out of early access or are released. You can pre-purchase this game for $20. I can't really recommend ever pre-ordering a game, but I definitely would say people should keep an eye on it. It looks like Death's Gambit might be interesting. On the other hand, it might not. It might play horribly, and it might be really short, and all kinds of different issues could pop up. Let's see. This with this with this with this, and we take that and do that. Next game, let's see, is this game in English? Yes, it's in English and Russian. It's a visual novel. It says it's indie, nudity, casual. And I'm pretty sure, it's kind of odd that it's a Russian game here. I'm pretty sure this is a male-on-male gay romance visual novel, unless it just happens to be a case that there's several men on the screen at different times and you're playing as the female protagonist, but I don't think so. Nope. Let's hit that, do that, do this, play that, hit that in the turn. And it's just called May, M-A-Y. The animation style, I don't know if I would fully have any kind of grasp to understand if there is a specific Russian animation style. It seems like it's a little bit watercolory, a little bit colored markery in the way it's drawn. Very sharp edges and lines on the faces, sharp chins. It is definitely not the Japanese anime style for sure. But also, I'm not sure if I'd directly call it a Western in general style. It is by far much closer to a Western style. $6.99 for the game May with no reviews. It does have an all-time peak of 5 people playing it. So if that's the kind of visual novel you're interested in, it's the first game from this developer. It might be a breakout hit. It might not. There definitely is a room for more realistic Western style animation in visual novels, I believe. But I certainly could also be wrong about that. Oh, here is Lake Ridden. So Lake Ridden would have been caught by what's on Steam. That's good to know. Let's see. Gamma Citra has a article, rising revenues in the US and Europe drives profits for Bandai Namco. That's good for it, I suppose. I don't think I want a bunch of weapons. Let's go with Jades. So Bandai Namco made more money in a weird way, Bandai Namco made more money for not really making any games. Konami made more money for not making any games. It feels like all of the older generation of Japanese companies are still being very profitable while not producing what gamers want them to produce. So the will of the market is once again proven, and capitalism in general is once again proven to be at least partially faulty, because supply and demand are not lining up, and still a company is profiting through other means. PC Gamer has an article how blockbuster games are written. I'm going to read that article later. Let's see, hit this. I believe if I win this way, this one I'll be done. Next game we have on Steam is called The Day I Died. It's action adventure indie casual. It looks to me like it may very well just be an asset flip game. Only game from this developer, no discount, $14.99 for what looks like good looking assets, but just, I'm pretty sure, flipped assets with no real polish or anything on them. And there will be no reviews, and there'll be nothing to say. Oh look, there is somebody who got the game for free rating it positive. Who would have guessed? Yeah, and 2 people who got the game for free rating it positively. No surprise there. We need on Steam the ability to just by default filter out those reviews, because they're not inherently valid reviews. They don't tell you anything at all, because on the face of them you know that there's a bias, because they didn't have to pay the money. It's a problem with mainstream video game critics. If they're getting their games and they're getting advertiser revenue from the makers of those games, they're inherently unconsciously biased to be positive on a game, since they're not only getting the game for free, also profiting from it, from writing reviews, positive reviews about the game. Let's see if we can zoom in and read this article on Eurogamer. Eurogamer's new site still looks awful. Eurogamer has an article: Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, new platforms launch brought forward. The remaster was due to launch on PC via Steam, Xbox, and Xbox One and Nintendo Switch on the 10th of July, but now will come out on the 29th of June, publisher Activision has said. You don't see that a lot. You don't see that the game is released earlier than was expected. It goes the other way. I don't know if I have enough health or mana to do all this. I guess that's just a good news story. There's nothing really to be upset about. Next game we have is a game called Escape First. Didn't I already cover this game? Or maybe it was the co-optional podcast couple covered the game. I think that might have been the case. Let's see. So Escape First is a multiplayer escape room puzzle game for virtual reality and desktop PCs. It seemed like it was an interesting game, and that's Yeah, this was talked about on the Co-optional podcast. That's why I heard of it. It doesn't require VR, which is a major success inherently. Like, just not forcing me to have a $600 system plus. Alright, strike here and there. It's 10% off for $5.39. The main problem, however, is it says it's multiplayer only. It can be played competitively, co-op, or solo. So there is a solo mode. And so this one definitely did. There's also a game called Tales of Escape that's out for free, and it doesn't require any VR either. So I'm gonna wishlist this game, Escape First. It's caught my attention, and I'll wishlist the free one too. Let's see what else. I'll take this spell. Actually, I didn't need to take that card. We could have just left it there. See if anybody's sent me a friend request on my main America's account. Nope. I now have to get a legendary on a classic card pack to even care. So it sort of makes sense. I'm very quickly approaching the point where I am just going to not open card packs that are classic card packs on my main account until a card pack opening video, so we can bump those numbers up. And then I'm not going to particularly hit the button to create dust until I have a bunch of extras and duplicates, and I'll just try to see how that works. We need one druid and hunter victory. Let's double check that we got the tavern brawl done. Yes, we did. Druid or hunter should be moderately easy to do. We'll try this secret stack. Continue down the line. PC Gamer has an article. Darkest Dungeon, The Color of Madness DLC release date has been set for June 19th. So, for the people still playing the Darkest Dungeon, that is great. It is also great for me whenever I get around to playing Darkest Dungeon. Next game we have on Steam is called Escape from Voyna, V-O-Y-N-A, tactical FPS survival. It's from a developer who has only one other game on Steam, and, well, it hasn't even come out yet. It's 20% off for $12.79. And now when I scroll down, it says made from Unity, and I suspect that this is sort of a Unity asset flip, but it to be fair, it does feel like a little bit of effort was put into this. I don't want Unity asset flips to be the new fake news term that people use and throw around and play out. Like, I would fully believe none of these assets were actually created by the creator of this game, but they're moderately well placed, and the game looks decently well made, but it also doesn't look like much of a game, and certainly not worth $12.79. I don't think I'd even want to pay 79 cents for it, honestly. It does have story, it does have gameplay, it has a description. The first review, not recommended, says this game is labeled a tactical FPS, which boasts no hub, no info, no nothing, yet has hit markers, terrible AI, and extremely bland levels and graphics. And that's the only review that even comes up for it. So we can ignore that game and close the tab. See. Deal this. PC Gamer has an article. Electronic Arts will push forward with loot boxes in future games. No duh. Like, we were fairly certain EA did not care about the loot box controversy, and the only thing that's going to make them really stop having loot boxes in all of their games, including FIFA, including the sports games, where it's been completely acceptable to rip off people and have microtransactions and loot boxes, is for the gaming community to keep the pressure on, not buy the games, and for them to actually see their profits go down. And that's going to be a long-term 6-month plus effort, like year-long boycott, 2-year-long, 3-year-long boycott. They, at the very least, it's got to be drastically reduced sales on a product in a single quarter. So at least 3 months, and almost certainly a lot longer than that. Also, EA kind of has to say this anyways, because their next couple of games are already in development, so they would have to spend extra money that they don't want to spend to take loot boxes out of the next FIFA game, because I imagine it's already been added in. It's entire elements of that game. Let's just play this. Publisher said that it's working with regulators to ensure the games do not break any laws. So they're going to specifically try to do loot boxes even against the legal complaints against them. Honestly, the regulators and the legal aspect of it is much more likely to make them change their mind than anybody else. Next game we have is a game called Guardian of the Immortal Mountain. It's in English and simplified Chinese, which I suspect means it's probably just in simplified Chinese with a small attempt on translating it to English. That didn't work. This game does not look very visually appealing. It's single player only on something that feels more like it would be a VR thing. It's an it's a VR game. It's free to play. I guess the price is right, but it still has no reviews, and an all-time peak of 2 people. The only difference between this and so many other VR games is, instead of zombies slowly crawling to you and you shooting them, it's like druid characters like Trents and Murlocs are crawling towards you. And you're standing in one place trying to shoot them back. Moving on. A controversial UK online shop called GameSeek has gone into liquidation. Let's see, this Cheshire-based online video game shop, this is a Eurogamer article, has gone into liquidation, leaving angry customers out of pocket. this probably only is going to affect a small number of people in Europe. I've never heard of GameSeek, nor would I really be doing business online to buy things with a company that I wasn't at least fairly certain with. And also, when I buy things online, I buy it through credit cards, so the charges can be disputed. Next game we have on Steam, and I suspect this might be a meme game, and maybe not. It is 99 cents, and it is called Alpha Omega, the Christian RPG. But then it just looks like a it looks like an RPG maker that has taken the stories or some of the stories of the Bible and are going to make you play it. Although it almost certainly isn't directly covering the entire stories of the Bible accurately, because it has to also have that element of the fact that it's a RPG game, and therefore it needs that element of gameplay in it too. While there is a considerable amount of conflict in the Bible, it's probably nowhere as close to an average RPG's amount of conflict. Let's see. End the turn. That being said, just on the aspect of it being a game, it looks very, very bad. Very, very bad. And it's been a really, really long time since we've had anybody in the video game industry try to pander to Christians and sell lower quality products. There certainly are some famous ones out there, but the truth is most Christians are perfectly fine with understanding that video games are fictitious stories and they don't have to be centered around their religion. And the Christians that do say in all things honor God and really mean it, so that every single action is only supposed to be built around honoring God, well, they frankly won't even own PCs or let their kids play PCs. So there is actually no market there for, let's see, this is a druid character. And most people figured that out, and that's why there really aren't any severely religious games, or frankly of any religion. It just doesn't work. It, on the face of it, it looks like it might be blasphemous when you do something like this. So if this was a well-intended creation, it's not gonna sell. If it's intended to be a poor effort to sell a cheaply made game, it's not gonna work very well. Moving on, the next game we have is a game called the Arm Claw Experiment. Looks like a VR game where you are playing something like Spider-Man, basically swinging through areas with a swinging through buildings like Spider-Man in New York. There's a bunch of helicopters that you also can hook on. It seems like you actually need to hook on buildings to swing. This has an all-time one player of one person. It's $4.99. Like, it doesn't look good, is the problem with this game. On top of it being VR, and thus there not being many people who could even play it, it just doesn't look good for $5. And most VR games are $5 hour-long experiences, and this just not something you'd want to do. Even if you're playing as a Spider-Man character, I feel like the swinging through the streets is an aspect that you have to have, but also it is an aspect that you begrudgingly need to add, because it's never, even at the best case scenario, it's never that fun. It's still walking from point A to point B. And that's why most Spider-Man games would be better suited with the swinging portions either being in race sections or just in what else could in cutscenes. So let's go ahead and close that tab. Tabs are still incredibly small. Next game we have on Steam is called Final Match. Final Match is a simple card game. Apparently it says easy access casual strategy card game. It looks like a mobile port. The second screenshot is just showing me a level selector. Looks kind of like Hearthstone. Don't they all? Which I guess means it kind of looks like Magic the Gathering. See, when you make a game and it looks like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, then are you if you make a game that looks like Hearthstone, but then say it's a simplistic, laid-back version, aren't you really just admitting you're not adding any of the complication that Hearthstone has been trying for 4 years to add? A simple tutorial was added May 11th. It's 10% off for $3.59. This is single player and multiplayer. Let's see. First review, not recommended. It looks like an interesting game, but one thing that it's not made clear is this game is still in beta. Not sure why it's not early access. Also, I cannot find any tutorial instructions on how to play. Okay. Let's attack one of these. And that's the only review for this game. Meanwhile, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, Tabletop Simulator, both recommended games like this. Poker Night at the Inventory, Uno. At the very least, for card games, the recommendations are somewhat accurate for better games compared to Final Match. And it's made by a company that's made nothing else. And you just can't trust that. Like, I can't even trust Valve to release Artifact in an interesting way. I definitely can't trust a random person to make something good. Let's see, adapt. Let's see. Death Rattle. I was hoping to kill this one. Next game we have on Steam is called Thunderbolt 2. It looks completely blue. Like, every single texture is shaded in 4 or 5 shades of blue. And it looks like it's not very good. 40% off for 59 cents. And one recommended review that just says good game. Well, those two didn't get me a victory. Is there any more druids? Let's just do this. It says it's a... what kind of game is this? It says it's a casual game where you're flying through a corridor. I saw a cell phone game that was like this, where you fly through a corridor, and there was something rather good about it. It says 10 long ride L levels, controls with the mouse click. It's from a developer who's made a mixed collection of games, about 10 games, 3 of which are negative, 3 of which are positive, 1 is mixed. Which I guess is better than most developers on Steam, because a lot of Steam developers have 10 games on Steam and they're all negative. Yes, this Thunderbolt 1 does feel like a cell phone game I played once. But playing it on the computer doesn't make a lot of sense. Not at all, because it was a heavily touchscreen based game where you have to click on things on the screen before you fly to them or they will hurt you. And Thunderbolt 1 by the time also has an all-time peak of one person playing it, and it came out February 26th. So this could be that this is a ripoff of that cell phone game I played, or it could just be it's a port that nobody cares about. Alright, let's look at Games Planet and what they are retweeting and tweeting. Games Planet looks like they are actually tweeting news articles, so I'm going to keep them on my Twitter feed for now. There's a job listings. We're not going to do any job listings. Somebody put a game on Steam just called 69, and it is definitely a fake game. Here's another company I can point out for just extremely low quality games. Let's see, I'll deal with that later. We already talked about Gigabyte making SSDs. Gigabyte's SSDs are going to have a 3-year warranty on them, which is, I think, probably a decent warranty. Although it's probably still a little lower than what you would get if you just bought a hard drive, particularly a quality long life hard drive, where you might get 5 to 10 years of a warranty on that. Of course, what really is the value of a warranty on hard drives? It's not very much if you're losing your much more valuable data in the process. I certainly have a significant number of things I opened that are not video game related. PC Gamer has an article, Red Sox pitcher pressured into giving up Fortnite. I guess peer pressure is real. Certainly would make sense, though. You know, hey, you're playing for a professional baseball team. You probably don't have time to be playing Fortnite also. Let's see, we already talked about this game. Maybe all the tabs I have left open are, in fact, just duplicate tabs. Hello Neighbor is coming to the Nintendo Switch and PS4 on July 27th, according to Gearbox official Twitter, which is the publisher, so we can, for the most part, trust that information. Let's see. I don't know if I want this or this. Let's see, we already talked about Valve adding a bug bounty board. A PS4 Parappa remaster has a PSP emulator with updated textures built into the software, and they hacked it apart and found that, which is interesting because that tells you then the PS4 kind of has the ability to play any PSP game at all, or at least the potential ability. It could be that the emulator is very highly focused only on the ability to play Parappa the Rapper and no other PSP game. But it also means that there's a decent chance at some future point we will have a even larger collection of PSP games re-released and remastered. Let's see. And this one can do that. Gamatsu turned 10 years old as a source for more Japanese-centric announcements. It's one I'm still using as a website. I am certainly looking for more suggestions and better better sources for video game news. YouTube has a video of somebody who in some way or other demade Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild down to a Game Boy Color or pixel graphics. This could have been done certainly with just animation. It looks like it probably was. So I doubt there is an actual like Game Boy mod out there. Slowly my browser tabs are getting larger. Let's see. I talked about that. Bullet Girls Fantasia has its first print, its Japanese first print bonuses announced. Seems like it's your standard in your underwear, in a bunny girl outfit, in a golden armor bikini choice. Doesn't look like this game is This PS Vita game is probably going to be too much of a game, really. Just standard perverted Japanese game that we all love so much. Well, it probably is keeping half of the Japanese video game industry in production too, making games like that. Let's see, it's a PS4 and PS Vita game, and I suspect, from what I'm reading here, the English release is only going to be for Southeast Asia, so they're not even trying to sell it in the West, which is probably a good call. Just let people import it. There's a game on Steam called Thumb Towers. It's 20% off for $3.99. There we are. I believe that just leaves us to switch back now to the Asian account, and let's just play a couple of games. I know I'm going a little long in this final recording, but I think I can wrap up the news if I just really rush. And I'm not going to scroll down my Twitter to see if there's any new news. So if anything has happened this Friday that shake the world apart or had major impact, I'm just going to ignore it for the weekend, and we'll talk about it on Monday. Assuming, I guess, if the world was shaken apart, maybe there would be no Monday to come. I need Shaman and Warlock victories. And I'm just going to play casual and try to do Warlock. This Tomb Towers game looks awful. There's... Let's see. Not anything I think worth saying about it. It's just a 8-bit thing. Next game we have is a game called Helicopter Flight Simulator from Simulators Live, a developer who has made all kinds of mixed to negative simulator games. It seems pretty consistent that if you make a simulator game, it is going to be a low effort, bad game. This doesn't seem very different. Has an all-time peak of 2 people playing it, 30% for $4.89, 30% off, and no reviews. I know if I get down far enough here, I will run into several VR games specifically designed for hospital use, so I'd like to hit those at the very least. Next game we have on Steam is called The Stray Cat, a virtual reality games. Pick up the objects on the ground and look to protect it, and watch the cute it falls. I don't understand. This is it says it's English only, but it's written clearly in Japanese or Chinese. So I don't understand this. It's a free game, so I guess you can't complain. But let's try this. First review is not recommended, and then it goes into a long story. Very long story explaining the story of the game, which doesn't make any sense. And I don't know if it's true. It's like an all-time peak of 3 people playing this game. Well, whatever. The Stray Cat, and one of the hundreds of Steam games not worth your time. Let's see. Demon Fire. In the turn. Next game we have on Steam is called Pestis, Pestis. Let's see. It says it's an indie. Yeah, this stupid pop-up keeps coming up on my browser page. It seems like you're trying to cause a plague or avoid getting a plague. I don't know. 35% off for $1.29 doesn't look interesting. First review says not recommended. Says it's a decent high score game if it had a leaderboard and more maps, but it doesn't, so don't bother. Is my editorialization there. Yeah, the graphics are visually unimpressive for Pestis. It's from a developer who's made a couple of other games, but none of which have ever even gotten reviews, which means nobody's played their games. The publisher is known for publishing mixed games at best. And that's kind of a weird twist in publishers, is if your publisher that is publishing your game has a history of publishing bad games or mediocre games at best, you're not in good company, and they really don't have anything to offer you. Let's see. Next game we have has caught my eye on the thumbnail. It's called Desire, D-E-S-I-R-E, or Desiree, because there are accents over both of the E's. I'll say Desire is a poetic point-and-click adventure game, black and white, from a let's see. It says it has sexual content, adventure indie. 4 chapters in the game. It's seems like it might be taking it from a different direction too. That the whole story is pretend. It's $4.99, and I don't think it's worth probably that, but maybe it is. Like, I usually think games are overpriced, but $5 for a 4-chapter, maybe. One would hope each chapter is at least 2 hours, so that would give you at least 8 hours of gameplay. Game isn't terrible for a point-click adventure. There's no negative reviews, but there's only 3 positive reviews. But I am a sucker for point-and-click adventures, so I think I will definitely wishlist this one. It's from a developer who's made one other game that was rated positive, and then 2 other games that haven't been rated. But the visuals, the way the story seems to be playing out is like it is a child that is fantasizing that they're playing throughout the game, and that's why it goes to black and white. Is an interesting twist, something you would see in a movie and not really see in a video game, because frankly people would be too afraid to have a whole game set in black and white. Should have put somebody on the other side over here. Okay, I found the things I was looking for. So there's this developer called Staples VR that put a bunch of things out on May 9th, all under the category of VR remedies. And apparently they have one other game called Treasure Bolt. Each one of these is $9.99. So there's VR remedies, MRI procedure experience, VR remedies CT procedure experience, VR remedies theater procedure experience, and that would be in a medical theater, as in having surgery in an operating room, and VR Remedy's radiotherapy procedure experience. Each one of these games is designed to let children in the hospital experience and become comfortable with what's going to happen in VR before it actually happens. Now, it is slightly odd, I would think, still, that these are being sold. It's kind of at a quite nice discount, frankly, compared to similar software that you could charge a hospital a lot more for. But it's weird that it's being sold on Steam. It's weird that it's being sold for $10. Inherently, all of these procedures are, for the first time, going to happen relatively fast. And if you were a child and you were in the ER and they needed to x-ray your arm, they don't have time to strap you into a VR machine as you're waiting and have you play. And it still doesn't really change too much, because there's still a lot of opportunity for a child to freak out and have a hysterical fit, even in the VR scenarios. So while this would be a potential useful like, this might be useful exposure therapy for fears if you were a psychologist and working them up to that, or if they are so sick that they need like MRIs all the time and they're fearful of them every time. But for most people, it's not going to be useful. The only review I see right now, is specifically saying developers could there be an update with an option to skip all but the MRI simulation, or treat people for fears of MRI, but the intro part you need to get to the demo needs to be able to be skipped. So even as a medical software and not really game, like, looking at this as a game, it's totally not worth anybody's money. Looking at it as a medical assistance device, I think it also has problems. There's at least one screenshot where there's little robot characters flying around. If you're in a hospital, you would have to clean off an Oculus Rift, and Oculus Rifts would be broken all the time. You would have to clean it to make sure you're not spreading pink eye or something. It's not the greatest way to implement this. Even if you were using the Google Cardboard and phones, it would be cheaper. This really is a software that I would say is mostly built around some hospital somewhere trying to spend $40 more or buying multiple licenses, which you don't, honestly, I don't know on the licenses there. It's like, for every VR, you'd have to, for every Oculus Rift you had, you'd have to have a different account, probably. And on each account, you would have to have another copy of the game. And that still really wouldn't run up the budget much at $10 each. This definitely feels like one of those well-intentioned scenarios. They've green screened children into the VR animated parts, so you actually see a character, at least in the trailer. You actually see a animated character going in there. In the trailer, there's a section where a bunch of balloons pop down and you're swinging your arm around and popping them, which really has nothing to do with anything. So yeah, it seems like it is a very, very poorly thought out piece of software right now. The theater procedure, uh, in particular, it's not super common for children to have to be awake in the middle of surgery. Uh, and frankly, nothing could prepare an adult or a child for what would be a very terrifying experience. Uh, that's why they usually just tape down your eyeballs so you don't see anything. And it really is one of those well-intentioned softwares with no real, arguably no real usable purpose. See, the Neo Geo Mini has been announced. Will include 40 titles and 2 different versions, a Japanese version and an international version. The screen is 3.5 inches, which tells you that the controllers in front of it is 3.5 inches, which means really small amount of real estate to actually use the controller to play anything. It does have external USB connectors, I believe they're USB, to plug in external controllers, but then you're effectively needing to plug in a fight stick to play Neo Geo games, and then when you plug in your $150 fight stick to this probably $40 Neo Geo Mini, you probably also want to plug in your $2,000 TV via the HDMI out. And so all the Neo Geo Mini is a emulation station that has video output to your more expensive hardware in 2 different directions. And meanwhile, you could just get a Raspberry Pi. Next game we have on Steam is called Final Fire. It's mixed with 60% of 28 reviews positive. It says it's a racing strategy massively multiplayer game. No, it isn't. It's a tank game. And it's only in simplified Chinese, and that's kind of all I need to know about it. Free to play. Just another low effort Chinese game. Now I think I finally have enough to do this and then this. Next game we have on Steam is called RPG Golf, or RPG OLF. There was a RPG golf like game already that came out. This one I don't believe is that. It's $3.99, no discount. It says it's a sports indie RPG action casual game. It looks like NES Golf, but it also looks like it has some like dungeon crawling elements in it, and you're wandering around. It is a silly enough concept that I would almost consider playing this, so I'm gonna kind of wishlist this. It has an all-time peak of 11 people, $3.99, and I'm looking at the more like this. Let's just play this. Like, the more like this under RPG Golf is not any other golf games. Well, Golf with Your Friends is a golf game, I guess. Let's look at the review. It's like playing The Legend of Zelda NES mixed with Mario Golf. This is what one of the positive reviews says. Short, simple, fun game for a few hours, and if I must play an RPG game, a short, simple one makes sense. And I don't see any negative reviews at all. Which makes no sense because... So it's like 100% positive right now. Although it only has 4 reviews, so it's not counting them yet. Let's play this. And do this. That didn't work. So yeah, I'll wishlist RPG Golf. Next game we have on Steam is called Block Smashers VR. Looks like garbage. Well, it doesn't actually look that bad, but it's a VR game, and I'm pretty sure it's just going to be a stand in place as things start attacking you. Maybe it isn't. No, it's stand in place and throw things. The other kind of VR game you play. So you're in one place and you're throwing balls at these prearranged platforms, trying to knock down a crystal and break it. Let's see, this game is 99 cents. I don't think it's probably even worth that much, but to be fair, for VR games, being able to just to throw things and break things, kind of like boom blocks, is a better, more different thing, more varied thing than what we've seen most VR games be. This is the only game from this developer also. What is that? Oh, that's the number 1. This is just a page 1 under the search results, and I'm like, what is that 1 for? We're almost done, although we're not actually getting that victory that I want. PC Gamer has an article. Agony has a new story trailer, and it's almost too much to bear. I kind of fast forwarded through the story trailer, and they're drastically over hyping this game Agony. It just needs not to be talked about until it's out at this point, but it seems like they show you the main goddess of this hell world that Agony is set in, and then seems like she particularly is infatuated with giving birth to babies and then murdering them. And her appearance kind of shifts with this black smoke over some parts of her body, and shimmers. And yep, when the game comes out, Agony might be interesting. On the other hand, it might just be the most boring game too, and that's why they went with such a drastic appearance in the first place, is because they were compensating for a lack of what would be a good word, a lack of capability to write a good story or make good gameplay. Next game we have on Steam is called Zap Zap Zombie Cats. It's zombies and cats. It's free to play, or free, and it's still mixed reviews. So you can't really complain about the price. It has an all-time peak of 17. It looks like it might have been a VR game, but it really isn't. It's just a weird mix of a bunch of different ideas. It's the only game from this developer, and it's mixed reviews. I don't even think there's microtransactions in it, and people still don't like it. Moving on. Next game we have on Steam is called Juke, Juke. Let's see. It says it's an indie platformer, 2D. Pretty pixely graphics. Only game from this developer. No discount at $4.99. And there's just nothing visually appealing. In fact, as I'm looking through the screenshots, it really does look like a Commodore game or an Atari game. Very, very simplistic graphics and basic shapes. I don't think for a second anybody... Well, here's one person that reviewed it positively, but I find that suspicious. I don't think anybody else is gonna play the game. And just literally nothing it's offering. I'm almost to the end. I did disable the Windows Service Host Superfetch just as a way of seeing if that might improve the performance on Lego games. I don't think it really did anything, but whatever, one service that really didn't need to be on. Let's keep on going. We're almost done. Next game we have on Steam is called Illusion. It says it's an indie adventure, female protagonist, single player. This was a game I was gonna wishlist from last week. I already talked about that one. And then Linear Chicken. Did I decide that I was gonna wishlist this one? $2.99. Or was I holding off to see if maybe there would be somebody that would review it? I don't see anything super high quality about Linear Chicken that I would wishlist that one. I must have just not closed. And then Grimworld Open Beta is now mostly positive. I thought it was mostly negative last time I looked at it. Is this a single player capable game? No, it's only online, so Grimworld stops being anything interesting. And the Humble Store was giving away, I believe, let's see, let's play this one. Let's hit this one and in the turn. The Humble Store was giving away a game, The Flame and the Flood, yes, is out, and the Humble Store is doing its spring sale right now. So now would be a great time for people to buy games, and if you buy a bundle or you buy a game that you think I might want, you can get those Steam codes and just direct message them to me on Twitter, and that's a great way to support this channel and let me have more games to cover. As I may now be ramping back up into a highly productive swing. Speaking of swings, mood swings, Jim Sterling on the Jimquisition came out and said that he's been addicted to painkillers because of his herniated disc in his back, and he tried to go cold turkey, and he also suffered a large bout of depression, and that they think he's a special type of, they've given him a new diagnosis of a special type of bipolar. Oops, did not mean to do that. and this special type of bipolarness has him go into periods of highly productiveness and periods of full depression, and whatever. I mean, I guess it's glad for him that he got diagnosed. He said in his talk about it that sometimes I felt like I was totally terrible at my job, and I'm thinking to myself, actually, sometimes you are pretty terrible at your job, whatever you're claiming your job is these days, or whatever you're deciding it is. But I also don't want to hit people while they're down. Also, though, it certainly could be a case that Jim Sterling is just claiming some kind of medical problem, as all SJWs always do, is that there's something medically wrong with me, therefore I deserve special treatment, special pity. Of course, that is, anti-SJWs often will make the argument that they're always that they're all a bunch of snowflakes and they're always crying about their problems. And there's probably some truth in both statements. I personally do believe mental illness is real. If I was a doctor looking at what Jim Sterling does over his career that I've been watching it, I probably would diagnose him with something too. It certainly explains a lot of things. I'd probably say he's a little bit obsessive, and because he talks about the same thing over and over again. But we've kind of at this point have to make a realization that Jim Sterling's not going to be a good source of information. Darn it, I wanted to play this. Ever again, probably, because he's now more obsessed about talking about wrestling than he is video games, or having any opinions about video games that are unique or useful. And he really doesn't have any connections to break any news. And we've lost Total Biscuit because he's dying of cancer. They started the Jimquisition talking about Total Biscuit, and they're making it out like there was some group of people who was saying they were mad at Total Biscuit still for like supporting Gamergate, I guess, and thus he deserved the cancer he got. I mean, it's like, really, there's probably some petty people out there that are saying something like that, but it's certainly not coming into my field of knowledge. And that seems really stupid and really petty. And I'm scrolling down my Twitter feed because that game took too long. You can apparently get the refurbished HP mixed reality headset just for $160. I don't think that would be worth it. Let's see. PC Gamer says Super Mega Baseball 2 is an improvement on the original and the best on-field baseball game on PC. That sounds interesting. A bunch of Japanese developers got together and reminisced, and there might be something in that article worth reading. Let's see. Somebody tweeted Team YouTube and said, thanks for my channel back, after they take it away for some strike or something. And it's like, yeah, you're really begging there. And somebody here is getting retweeted by Team YouTube. It's like, thanks for letting me take down somebody else's video because they stole it from my channel. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I guess if the algorithm 100% guarantees that the video is a complete copy, which is what I think the feature was that they were going to give to most people, is that if somebody took your exact video, did nothing to it, and uploaded it, you could then have it taken down. But I don't think it will ever go as far as somebody took a portion of your video, commentated over it, and kind of fair used it at that point. Or even if somebody took your entire video and then just translated it into a different language, which is one of the things a lot of people are doing that's not particularly fair use. I don't think that would get caught either, just because the audio is different. And, you know, seeing a couple of things. On my channel, the Fox and the Flood, I believe is what it's called, episode 1 aired. There's only 2 episodes of that. Basically, I finished it in 2 episodes, and then I moved over to another game that was called Peg, and I played that for a while, and then about halfway through the game I said, look, it's just going to be way too difficult for me to try to play this Peg game and have some commentary, so I kind of sort of rage quitted it. I've played Peg several more times and gotten a lot further, but I still haven't gotten all of the puzzles done, and I just play it on occasion now until I get all the achievements, and then I'll never play it again. There was nothing wrong with Peg. It's just not a game that you can really say anything about because it's simply Peg games. It's called The Fox and the Flock. It aired 6 hours ago on my channel. Fox and the Flock, a much better Peg game, but a different Peg game than what I was expecting. So I came in with a very different expectation than what I got. But what I got was pretty good, and it was a very linear story-like experience for some kind of game that probably should have been more open world and forever ongoing experience. But even Peg doesn't actually let you play forever so easily. Star Wars The Clone Wars Republic Heroes Episode 2 aired 7 hours ago on my channel, which means also The Force Unleashed 2 will start airing on my channel pretty soon. Unless I scheduled that a little bit later. And Biohazard, Resident Evil still happening. I believe there's probably about 2 more episodes of that, so as soon as Resident Evil ends, I bet that is when The Force Unleashed. So my May the 4th be with you content is more May the 11th be with you content. It didn't quite line up. And that's certainly something that if I was recording more and did a lot more effort to make sure things air on the days that I'd like them to air on, I could line up dates, the occasional date, a little bit more accurately. But it's not a big deal. Very few people watch my pre-recorded footage ever, let alone when it goes live. Best I can do is ask people to sub and click the notification bell and start watching some of those videos, or go back and watch some of the older videos. As videos are getting transferred over to Twitch, some of them have gotten a few views, but I'm certainly not having a scenario where there is hundreds or thousands of views. I don't think Twitch is going to say, hey, your channel is really blowing up, let's partner with you and let's help you make a lot of money. Why don't you stream Hearthstone every day, every time you stream on Twitch first, and not stream it on YouTube? Which that might happen at some point if my Twitch channel really did blow up, but I don't think either one is really going to happen. I'm still kind of leaving my Twitch channel as a you find it if you can find it thing. I and subscribe in any way you can subscribe or you want to subscribe. It's still not my main place, and mostly because there's really no playlists on Twitch. It's kind of impossible to sort things, and so I'm making a big mess on Twitch right now as I'm waiting for them to roll out some more features like playlists and end screens and you know, an algorithm that would actually promote my content to people. And the Twitch kind of needs to change from a service of just live content into a service of here's live and pre-recorded content, where YouTube is kind of switching from here's a platform of pre-recorded content to here's a platform that has mostly live content as all they're promoting. And YouTube came out and said we're going to give people eventually the discussion tabs and a new stories tab, but oh, by the way, we're not actually going to show any of those posts to all of your subscribers. It is always in their head, because they have their head so far up their own butt, and YouTube does. They will not let any service exist where you actually have a fan subscribe to it and see all the content that fan wants to see. It's just ridiculous. And Bethesda is still joking and viral marketing, I think, about Rage 2. That this is viral marketing is for Rage 2. It kind of has to be, because if it was viral marketing for something else, that they are doing some really crazy hype building for Rage 2 for them to come out and say, oh no, we're not actually making Rage 2, you misunderstood, this is a brand new game. Like, people would just be disappointed, and you never want to disappoint your customers. And very possibly, since this last recording went for 2 hours, maybe I've disappointed my customers and the viewers by going on for so long. So many games. So many games. I don't really even want to bother with a silent post show. I'm just going to mostly try and see if I can get people to get upset and concede casual games with the Shaman or Warlock. And that's kind of all I'm going to do for the rest of the night. And maybe I can get enough energy to get back to playing some more Lego Star Wars, because I need that to happen. I need to actually be recording content on the days I'm also recording Hearthstone, and that's really hard to do when we've been streaming for 4 or 5 hours. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. If you want to support me even further, gift me a game or a gift card on Steam, or get a game via Steam code via the Humble Store or some other place and tweet me those codes. That works too. Also, when you subscribe, click that notification bell, please. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.